the chair of our Preservation Design Awards Committee. John Haber, to my left, is the Field Services Director for the California Preservation Foundation, and I'm Cindy Heitzman, the Executive Director of the California Preservation Foundation. Today's webinar is going to be divided into three aspects of the nomination. We'll review the entry form and how to fill out the entry form, how to prepare the narrative for the jury, and how to prepare the PowerPoint slides. We'll also give you an example of some successful nominations, and you'll be able to see exactly what the jury sees and hears during the deliberations. To begin, we're going to start with the online application and the sequential steps for applying for a Preservation Design Award. This form is a screenshot from our website, and John Haber is going to take it from here and actually walk you through the online application.
Okay, give me a moment here. I'm going to load up my screen and share it with everybody. Okay, so you should be at the home page of our main website, californiapreservation.org. If you are not, just let us know through the chat box. What you first need to do is click on the link that goes to the awards, which is the far right. You'll notice here on the far right under the nav bar, there's an awards link. You click on that, and it takes you to our Preservation Design Awards page. If you'd like to see some of the former winners, we have the 2015 winners here featured at the top of the page. You'll notice on the left-hand bar on the bottom portion the listing of the winners by their category. And I believe we also have a section where some of our past winners are listed, which we can send you the link to after this webinar. But the meat and potatoes here, what everybody is looking for is how to apply this year. And you'll notice after you scroll down below that slideshow at the top, there's a series of 4 different tabs, and you start with the overview. The overview is basically going to show you where each of the steps is located. Step 1 is the basic entry form, which I'll show you here in a minute. The entry form contains all the contact information and basic information on the project that we need to know that you're intending to apply for a PDA this year. We receive an immediate email notification as you submit that entry form, and that alerts us that we should be looking for your other parts of the application, which we'll also go through later. To find the entry form, you would click on the far right tab here. But it's always smart before doing that to really get started, before you get started, to look at the overview, the instructions, and the award categories, which I think some of our other speakers today will look into, talk more about what those categories entail and how a project fits into which category. For the instructions, you'll see here that there's a listing, a portion of the application. With detailed information on how to submit that portion and how to collect that information, including links on some of the forms. As I mentioned, each of the links to each portions or each steps of the application are here on that overview. If you ever need to refer back to a step, or if you have uncompleted a step, you would find the direct link to that step here on the front page. Finally, we have a link to a Word document. We recommend that you complete the entire application, the narrative, and fill out the information in the Word template so that when you fill out the application online, you can just copy and paste it right into the form, and your application process should go smoother and quicker. What I've done here on this page is completely filled out the form so you can see what it looks like when it's complete. It's important to note here that this drop-down is where you select your primary category. If you'd like to submit an entry for any other category or use another category in the same entry, you would do so by checking off the additional category here below it. Once you submit that form, you're taken to step 2. And step 2 is download links for both the application release form, which we need, and the project affiliates spreadsheet, which is a listing of all the other project affiliates on that project. You can collect those downloads and fill them out for upload later. The third step, which you'll be taken to as soon as you complete the downloads of those 2 forms, is the narrative. This narrative is pre-filled out with test information. We'll go over more of this later, but once you've completed it, you would submit the questionnaire. And you're taken to the upload page, which is your second to last step. If you don't have the release form or the affiliates spreadsheet, though you should already have it after completing step 2, the links are located right there. This form here is where you would fill out your information and upload any files that you need to upload. So in this case, we filled it out with the project name, our email, our full name. You would select a file, preferably zipped. We prefer to have our files zipped together in one folder. And then you would click on Send It. You have to wait until that status bar says it's complete. And that confirms that you're uploaded and sent to our server. When you're done uploading those files, you would go through each of these checkboxes just to ensure you have all parts of the application completed and uploaded. Finally, you click on Go to Payment. And we don't give you the payment link until we know that everything is complete. So once you complete step 5 of 5, your application is submitted. You will be emailed a link to the payment page. And this page right here, step 5 of 5, will, in about 10 to 15 seconds, redirect to our payment page. So with that being said, I'm going to turn it back to Cindy, and she can go through the remainder of the process with everybody.
Thank you, John. Kurt Schindler is going to explain the 8 award categories.
Many of you may be very familiar with these categories, particularly if you've worked on your project for a while, which many of us have for many years. And they are preservation, rehabilitation, restoration, reconstruction, contextual infill, and cultural resource studies or reports, craftsmanship, preservation technology, or archaeology interpretive exhibits. Now, there is an explanation for each of those in the information you will receive, and of course you can look at other sources. Obviously, the National Park Service website has explanations of all of these, and we, as the jury, oftentimes see a application in more than one category, and that's fine because it may be involved, in technology as well as rehabilitation. Now, sometimes the jury recommends that a particular project is much, much stronger in one category or another, and that's the one that we will take most serious when we jury the applications.
I think I'm going the wrong way.
Yeah.
Sorry, this is the last step, and it's just a reminder that we do require signatures from these 4 affiliates with the project. The entrant, the leader, the principal from the design team, the client, the owner, and then the architect, the preservation architect. This is important because we need to know that each of these individuals is aware that an award is being submitted for a project that they've been involved in. In the past, we've received award applications where there are key members of a team that were not informed, so it's important that you do that. And this is one of the uploads that John described. Some important points about the application for this year. The deadline for nominations is June 1st. There are early and late fees. The cutoff for the early registration is May 5th. All applications need to be in by 5 p.m. on June 1st. There's an additional $25 charge for each category that you're entered in. Qualifying buildings. A building need not be listed on the National Register or local inventory to qualify for Preservation Design Awards. If the building is historic, if it's more than 50 years old, that qualifies. So this is not strictly limited to those buildings on inventories or registries. So we're going to be rolling into the narrative portion of the Design Awards application, and these are important points to recognize. And I'm going to turn it over to Kurt, who's going to run through the narrative portion of the application.
A little bit about the way the jury process works. The jury is given all the applications, and any given year that can be as low as 25 or as many as 70. And they're given it a few days ahead, and then the jury gets together for basically a day. And what you have to take into account is that they've never seen the project, seen the application, probably have never seen the project, and they don't even know it existed prior to seeing the application. They don't know who worked on it. That information is kept confidential. And you need to really make a case in words and images. And we can't stress enough the quality of photographs that you should submit. Now, why is the project noteworthy? What is the significance, architectural, historical, cultural significance of the project? This is where you would list whether it's on a register or an inventory. You would note whether it complies with the Secretary of Interior standards, and can it be a model for other projects in the future, whether it's the structural significance, architectural, or the way the building is reused, and does the building really fulfill an important social, cultural, or economic function? Next. Yeah, describe the condition immediately prior to the work on the project. And this, of course, is well described within with both words and photographs. And where and when and how did the project start? There's oftentimes a good history to many of these projects, maybe going back several years or decades before the project was actually initiated. This is important information for the jury to understand the kind of the life of this project. Obviously, keep this simple, but it's very important that they understand. Next. Explain any of the particular challenges encountered or the solutions that were incorporated. I mean, were there special challenges regarding the structure, seismic upgrade, which of course happens in many of these older buildings in our state, public support, public opposition, the site conditions, what's immediately around, how did that influence the decisions made on the project? Were there community economic conditions that favored this project or actually ran against the project? And any funding challenges. Obviously, we know that funding is a very important part of these projects. What challenges did you meet, in actually getting it built? Explain the basis of decisions to include applying the Secretary of the Interior standards or other governing standards. The projects will be looked at relative to the Secretary of Interior standards, but usually there's maybe one or two standards that are very important, point that out to the jury. Point that out so they understand the goals that you are working with. Explain the contextual importance to the surrounding environment. I mean, these projects sometimes are catalyst projects for an area that has been blighted, and are they the first or second on the in the area to be rehabilitated or restored? Or do they set a kind of a goal or a standard for the community at large, or even the state?
I would add that that's especially important in a contextual infill project as well.
Yes. Explain any technology or practices of the project which promote environmental design, material, or energy conservation. This is one of the challenges we see on all the work within the state. And by maintaining an existing building, many of these buildings are on the right foot to reducing the amount of energy conservation. But there also are challenges maintaining historic fabric versus building a new building. Is the site eligible for the National or California Register, local landmark, historic districts, or inventory? Should definitely note whether it's eligible and, of course, whether it's on any of these inventories. And this is where you can see whether a project might set an example in a community that will influence others to maintain historic properties. Dates of the original construction and alterations. And so what is the period of significance? We often see on projects there may be more than one period of significance because the project has changed over time, or there may be a period of significance that you are taking it to, whether it was the original construction or one of the periods in between, if it's a building that has had several lives. If the project is a cultural resource report or study, how is the report being used within the community? What will its function be? Will it go beyond this particular project? Will it set some standards in the community or even in the region for preservation or restoration of historic assets? Is there any other information the applicant would like the jury to receive? And this is important because many times there are reasons that don't fall into categories. I mean, was there an important socioeconomic aspect to this submission, important to the community as large, that went really beyond the building and what you do to the building? And as said before, is it a catalyst for an area that's up and coming, or really is it the first project in the community to be restored and will therefore set a standard for others? Go ahead.
So we're going to take you through some examples that have been submitted to 4 awards. They were successful. They received awards in 2014 and 15. And you're going to see exactly what the jury sees and hears during their deliberations. And keep in mind that the jury receives all the information ahead of time, all the questions to the narrative, the slides. They receive everything so that they can look at it. They receive anywhere between 40 to 70 projects. So there's a lot to digest, and a lot of this moves very, very quickly. So just so you can get a sense of how quickly they need to move through this and how important it is to kind of tie a ribbon around this with your narrative and your images, we're going to go through 2 projects. One is a rehab and one is a report. And I'm going to read it just as I do to the jury. Lampwork Lofts, Oakland. Located at 1614 Campbell in Oakland, California. This project is a rehabilitation and conversion of a historic 4-story industrial warehouse into 92 live, work, and residential units. This historically significant building, constructed of masonry-bearing walls and wood floors, occupies a rectangular 1.5-acre site. The 116,000 square foot design subdivided the interior space to take advantage of structure, light, and the existing industrial character of the building. Originally used as a General Electric light bulb factory during West Oakland's industrial boom, the building was completed between 1912 and 1917 and continued under GE ownership until 1962 when the division closed. Other industrial manufacturing companies used the building through 2000, repairing the damage done by the 1989 earthquake. It was then abandoned by 2000. The building was sold to its current owner in 2003, and the rehabilitation project culminated in 2014. Historic industrial features were preserved and integrated into the new project.
Now, as you can see, that was probably 3 minutes or so worth of information. The jury has seen it before, but they may have spent a day looking at all of them. So they come to the jury somewhat prepared, and then what they really look at as a group is look at the projects as a whole.
So the second example is a report. And I think of all the questions that we receive about the type of projects, we receive the most about reports and how to adequately present a report for an award nomination. So we're going to roll through this one again quickly. This is the Los Angeles Unified School District Historic Context Statement, 1870 to 1969. With nearly 800 campuses spanning over 700 square miles, the Los Angeles Unified School District is the nation's second largest public school system. Since its 1872 founding, the district has commissioned, designed, and acquired a remarkable collection of properties. Given LAUSD's long history, geographical span, and range of property types, the Los Angeles Unified School District Historic Context Statement offers a comparative framework for historic resource evaluations on a range of educational facilities. Broadening the study's applicability is its multiple property documentation approach, the recognized gold standard for context-driven surveys. Since the early 20th century, national standardization has been at the heart of reform and modernization of school curricula and facility design. Drawing on examples throughout California, the Los Angeles Unified School District's Historic Context Statement applies to schools in Los Angeles and well beyond. So this is, and we have a number of project examples. We want to give you two that were well prepared and actually received awards. So we would like to open it up at this point to any of your questions.
And just to clarify, to ask questions, you type in your question in the chat box on the bottom center portion of your screen. We have a few already. Secondly, if you are attached to a microphone and you've enabled that, you're welcome to raise your hand, which is that center kind of symbol at the top center portion of your screen. And that lets us know to enable your microphone from our end, and you can ask the question in person. Otherwise, we'll be fielding questions through the chat box. And the first question comes from, actually from an anonymous guest, but saying, if our building is only 45 years old, not 50 years old, can we submit it?
I think you can submit it. You know, every jury is different, and again, your challenge is to make a very compelling case that this is a project that is worthy of an award. So what was unique about that project? Was there a challenge? And increasingly, as Kurt said, the cultural significance and the social or economic significance of a project is sometimes tipping the balance in favor of a project where it might not have complied completely with the standards, or maybe it was not 50 years old. So it really depends on the nature of the project. Now, Kurt, if you had anything to add to that.
Well, we're seeing a whole new category of mid-century projects being submitted for awards, and those are important projects, many of them. So I would submit, even if it's 45 years old, but what was special about this project, of its era, of its construction, of the circumstances under which it was built? Tell us more than you might normally about that.
Okay, so a second question coming from Carol is asking if these slides will be distributed, and I think I can answer that. I'll email everybody who was registered today a link to the PDF of the slides by the end of the day. The other thing I think I wanted to mention was during the upload portion, there was a portion of the presentation that mentioned that supplemental materials were encouraged and accepted, and though they're optional, you're welcome to upload them. There's no limit on what you can send to us in that upload tool. So if you have letters from people or any additional optional supplemental information, that's where you would upload it. In fact, there's a checkbox on the checkbox below for the final step that lets us know that you have optional materials to submit. So make use of that if you can.
And I would also add that if you're submitting an application for a report, you would upload that report. So we have reports that are hundreds of pages long that are submitted as PDFs, and we would expect to see those as part of the submittal. But a note about the supplemental information. Really the heart of the application is in the narrative and the slides. Some of the additional information that we need are also high-resolution photos, and those are actually for the awards ceremony itself, but we like to get those in advance. It's just a lot easier for us to collect them at that time. You can submit a lot of supplemental information, but again, the jury is reviewing a number of applications, and they may not be able to review everything that is submitted. Important point, though, is if you do submit letters, please redact them. Take the name of the designer, the architect, the owner off the project.
And deadlines, because did we mention those already?
I did.
2 different deadlines?
I did.
Okay.
I did.
Yeah.
The early deadline is May 5th, and the final deadline is June 1st. And by the way, this webinar will be recorded and will be accessible on our website, on the PDA webpage at no cost for anyone who's interested.
Okay, and I'll send you the PDF slides by the end of the day. If there are no further questions, we know if somebody is asking a question, I see a little message on the bottom that says a question is being typed in. So we will wait around if we see something being typed in, but it looks like there are no further questions from here. With that being said, I think I wanted to thank both of our presenters from my end. And finally, which is why we have these web links on the bottom right-hand side, is I'm going to send everybody to our conference page, because I think we want to encourage everybody who's here at this webinar today to attend our conference this year. We're really excited. Kurt is on the committee.